Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kentrell, and today we're going to be going over Sage 100 Contractor, specifically dealing with estimating and how we can use estimating in a way to enhance our business. Talking with a lot of contractors, a lot of service contractors, different individuals in the industry, and estimating is a very, very, very key component within the actual construction piece, especially if we're doing bid work or we're trying to generate proposals, because we want to be able to get something out to the owner and at the same time, in the words of a contract, and at the same time, we want to be able to track our costs. So, and where our costs are associated with and where they're going. So with this solution, Sage 100 Contractor, it will allow us to be more accurate in our estimates. It also is fully integrated into a project scheduling. It also integrates directly into the Sage 100 project management piece, as well as the accounting component. So when we get a job or we're working on bidding a job, we can keep all of the pertinent information within the account or in the estimating piece of the solution, such as our takeoff. We're working with different vendors, we're working with different suppliers. We're trying to really nail down this estimate to get a proposal out to our client. You can keep all of that information in the actual job, in the project itself, not worrying about somebody accidentally posting costs to a project that is not valid. So I've opened up, my job setup. I can change and put my job status in bid. And therefore, we can, work our estimates as we're going through the bidding process. Change this back. So let's jump over here into estimating and give us a quick overview. It's going to be, I can use my shortcut keys. I'm going to use estimating, open up takeoff. Immediately when I open up my takeoff, I have a list of all my jobs that have an estimate against it. Now I may have, more and more jobs in the system. The only way that these jobs will populate here is if I have the job have an estimate in the system. So if I set up a new job and you don't see it in the list, it's not the end of the world. It's just that the job does not have an estimate. We also can come in and look at, for instance, if we have templates, we can set up different project templates out there if we need to. So when we get into estimating further down in this overview, we'll talk about how we can create a template real quick and use that same template, especially if we have projects that are in similar structure. So I'm gonna open up my job 220. Automatically populates on my takeoff details. So when I'm looking at, I'm start with projected values. My projected values are going to be used as variables that are going to assist me within my estimating, such as if I'm wanting to track different units of measure. Say, for instance, I have, a building and I want to track the total square footage, or I want to track the exterior perimeter. I might need to put formulas together in order to assign that cost. Give you an example of what I'm talking about. Say, for instance, I have bathrooms. My variable is bath. My count is 2. So when I go over to my takeoff, scroll and I look at, I'm going to do bid items, we'll talk. I can see here that I have my formula already battled. So bath coming from my projected values. Look at my takeoff detail. I want it equal to quantity. So I can come over and see my quantity is going to be 2. Now let's try this out and see how that this really affects my takeoff from the projected values tab. So if I were to try to change this to 1 and I go up here and calculate, it changes it back to 2. So instead of me having to go through and try to figure out, all of my different quantities of what I have, but if we go back to my projected values, we see my value is 2. So I can update all of my different values and quantities over here without having to, kind of scroll through a long takeoff, looking at these different bid items. So in this case, if I want to change it, let's make it 1 over here. And I calculate. Now, when I go back over to my takeoff details, go to my bath, now I see the value of 1. So we can use those variables as a way of tracking information as far as our formulas, as far as our units of measure within the estimating solution. Now, the takeoff detail, our takeoff detail tab is going to give me all of my detail. Where if I wanted to build an assembly, if we have assemblies built, already pre-built, we can add them to the takeoff. We can also come in and check out part numbers if we don't necessarily want to build assemblies. Say, for instance, I don't necessarily build assemblies, I can hide this column. So I want to go in here and say hide and show columns. I don't want to track an assembly. I might not want that part as well. So I've just shortened up my columns, and then I can save this grid view and have my own personal grid view. Because if you come up here to grid views, you can add grid views, edit, delete. We could kind of that way. It's really set up to kind of mirror your estimating style. So we might, right now I got the company open where everything is there, but we can really set this up to use it per your estimating style. What is pertinent information for you and your company? So not only do we have our parts, we also have, a description of those parts, tracking our units, as well as our quantities, and then our formulas. As far as all this pertinent information, of course, we can put in all our profit, our overhead, and then it said, give me what my gross profit rate's going to be, as well as my extended price based on my overhead and profit. In this solution, we can put in different vendors. We have vendors out there, and that way we can issue when we get ready to export this over to accounting. It would automatically generate the PO for us or the subcontract. Nobody has to sit down and 10 key this, as well as assigning the cost codes and our cost types. Now, if I wanted to put this on a schedule, if I'm, working, really want my crews and being more organized, I can set up tasks, and therefore I can create, in the other part of the solution, export this out or import it into scheduling, and therefore create a job schedule and see Gantt charts and predecessors and all of that. So I got a lot of different information that I can track in here. And as you notice, this is kind of like a Microsoft Excel document where I can come in, I can copy, paste. So I can copy things out of Excel, paste it in here. I can take things out of here, copy it out of here, cut it out of here, and paste it in Excel. So it mirrors Microsoft Excel. Here at the top, we have some different features that also can really narrow down our estimates, where if we wanted to break out our estimates in different components, say, for instance, I wanted to look at everything that I'm dealing with demolition. So I can see everything broken out in demolition. I can see everything broken out in walls. So how I set this up is I can come over, click this arrow to the right, and I have all of my different types of bid items. As you see here, we have some bid items that we've set up. This is customizable. You can run through any way your company likes to run bid items. Some might set it up as general conditions as number 1, site work, number 2, concrete, number 3, and so on, following the CSI structure. Then you can put in an item code if we want to track the alphanumeric item code, as well as a unit of measure if it's a linear foot each, pound by weight. We can also come in here and add that as well if we need to put in any quantities for a bid item. Now, we have what is here known as the bid item type. We have basically 4 types. We have a base bid, we have what is known as allowance, as well as we have known as an alternate, and then we have the last one, which is change order. And if you're not sure within it in the solution, you can always look down here at the bottom left, and it tells me exactly what these are. Kind of tell you what a bid item is. Base bid indicates standard item on the proposal. An allowance is, say, for instance, that we need to provide an allowance for cost. Best example, say you're building a commercial project and they're not sure if they want to put carpet in there or if they don't want to put carpet in there. Well, we can set up the carpet allowance as a cost to carpet, and it can be specified and included into the contract. As well as if we wanted to track alternates, this indicates that tells us that the cost of work performed is based on alternate plans. And then, of course, we have our last one, which is known as change orders, indicates that the bid items contain only a change of work, so that this is a change order and we can export that over into the accounting solution as well. So that's a little bit of what bid items are. Also, we have what is known as job phases. So not only am I able to track my estimates down from a bid item, and my bid items will affect, things such as my daily field reports. It also affect my proposals and as well as my unitary billing. But when I talk about phases is really designed for us. Say, for instance, I'm billing three, I have, I'm billing three apartment buildings. Okay. And overall, it's only one owner. I necessarily might not want to set up one job for this big, large project. I might want to set up, the project itself. And then I might want to put up three phases, known as basically a mini job inside of a larger job. That way I can truly track my costs from building A, building B, building C. Because I might find out in building A that, we may went over a little cost. So then I can make the necessary adjustments on building B. So it really allows me to not only track my costs and many jobs inside of a larger job, but at the same time, when I bill out, I can bill out in phases too. So back to my three building example, we might have laid the foundation on 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then we started building a little bit on building B. We did a little building on, or a little construction on building C. We can build those out in different phases. So we gotta have a variation, but the only way we can do that is by setting it up in the estimate. So a lot of times we get, calls saying, "Hey, I want to use phases." And we're halfway through the project. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a little tough to try to set that up. So we want to make sure if we're going to use phases that we do it at the beginning of the project. And of course, here's our views. When I was talking about changing your grid views, creating grid views, I already have a list of them here that I can look at. So if I want to look at material survey entry, there's all my material, as well as if I want to look at parts, there are all my parts, and so on. But also, especially when I have a very large takeoff, we're working to take off many different moving parts. I also can have a chance where if I need to go back and review something, I'm waiting on vendor pricing, or I'm working on looking at a different part. I can what is known as tag different rows within the solution. So I'm not jumping all over my estimates trying to find out things that I've set up to review that I need to review. So like for instance, I'm gonna set up row 17 as add, edit, row tag. I can come in then and say, please review. I say, okay. I get my review. So now when I go down to row tags, I see I've already got one in here. I can go to number 2. I can go and say, go to that row. It automatically takes me to row 17. Same thing if I wanted to go to row bid item number 8 and look at, it says, please review. I can go to that row. It'll automatically take me to there. So what this does is I'm not jumping all over the solution trying to find different pieces of the estimate that I need to review that I'm working on. Especially works well with vendor pricing. Like I said earlier, if I can wait in on prices, I might have, multiple bid items out here, a lot of complexity. I don't have time to go back and try to find out where was that, where was this. I just set up my row tags. So then when I open up my estimate, I know I have things that I can review and I can start knocking these things off of my row tag and remove them. Also, we have what is known up here as the recaps. So if I wanted to look at my bid item recap, let me go here and save. Yes. So I can look at bid items. It's going to say any cost that does any zero cost will be based on bid item on the base bid. So I have things in this takeoff that has zero cost, but I want to track it for the estimate. I go yes. And so now I can see my bid items broken out from my takeoff detail. I can see how many hours per bid item I'm going to use, what my total cost is for that bid item, my extended price, my profit and overhead, and my gross margin. And down here, I can see the total hours for this one bid item, the cost, a summary of the cost, extended price, and it also gives me an average of my gross margin. Same thing if I was tracking phases. If I had assemblies on this project, in which I do, I see exactly what hours is going to take me, how many assembly hours is going to take me, my cost, extended price, and gross margin. And I can do it with cost codes, cost types. I can even do it by my tasks that I'm going to send over to my schedule to make my Gantt charts, as well as I can see it by vendor. And I can also go into cost code by bid item. Now, even with this takeoff, jump back one screen, because there's one thing that is I can see with, as we're talking about vendor pricing, waiting for vendor pricing, I can come into the solution up here at update, and I go to takeoff. I can do what is known as prices from my vendor. So I can manually update pricing as I go through my takeoff without having to jump through all the different bid items or different tabs. I can also update pricing using default costs from my database of parts. I can use the amount, build amount or the average amount. So I'm able to track that information from my parts database. In this case, I want to say manually. I have here all of my vendors. It's not all the vendors in my solution, but it's all the vendors that I have selected to work on this project. So if I want to go down here to say French Brothers Hardware and Supply, I could come in and update the pricing right here in the solution, which then would turn around and update my takeoff price. These prices are pulling directly from my parts database. So that's where my pricing is coming from, but I can change it in my estimate and update it here. One thing, insurance, tax, and bonding, this information is not included in the recaps and takeoffs. So if I'm tracking liability insurance for payroll purposes, I need to include it. That's why I have included in my budget if I need to. If I have, and I can put it to a certain bid item and a cost code and a cost type. Liability for a subcontract or, like I said, or payroll. If we have a used tax that we need to track, we can also put that information in here as well as our bonding and our bonding limits. In this case, we're going to put our bonding, it's permits, it's a cost code, other, and we want to include it into our budget. We also have known as our bid summary. Looking at our takeoff, it gives me my total cost of this takeoff, the overhead and the gross profit, the margin, and the extended price. Say, for instance, I'm looking at this, you know what? I want to add another 5% to this. I can come down here and use apply margin override, or I can use the apply markup and extended price. So in this case, I want to say, hey, 5%. It will tell me exactly what the additional markup is going to be, as well as what the actual total extended price, the new extended price is going to be. And then of course, if I wanted to, I can lock this information down. Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking about an overview of Sage 100 Estimating Basic. Please stay tuned as we go through and start digging deeper, getting further into a little bit more detail when we start talking about the logic, building formulas, and as well as some of the things as we start exporting and importing within the solution. Thank you all so much again for taking the time out to watch this video. I hope this video adds value to you. And if you have anything, please check us out at bangerdinc.com or follow us on LinkedIn. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.